Hi there and welcome to Tally's webinar series. Today we have the pleasure of hearing about Anritsu's new Site Master from their very own product expert, Raymond Chan. Raymond, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself today?
Yes, like I said, my name is Raymond Chan. I'm a product manager at Anritsu. Specifically, I focus on the handheld side instrument, and I also focus on the handheld cable antenna analyzer, vector network analyzer, and remote spectrum analyzer. I have a background as a mechanical engineer and a MBA, and I'm proud to present the latest work that I've been working on, which is the latest Site Master, and it's building off of a long legacy here at Anritsu, which was a bit challenging and daunting, but I'm pretty proud of what we've created, and I'm happy to present what we have. Like I said before, I'm presenting the new Site Master, which includes two models, the MS2085 and the MS2089. And I'd like to first explain what is this? It is our spectrum analyze. We've been doing the Site Master for close to 30 years, 29 years, not exactly 30, but it's pretty close. And these two models we're launching is going to be a continuation of our legacy that we've created. So the MS2085 is going to be our cable antennalyzer only. It's going to start from 5 kilohertz all the way up to 6 gigahertz. There is a 4 gigahertz option. Most of the options are hardware options, I mean software options, except for the transmission measurements, which in that case requires hardware and which has to be sent back to be upgraded. Whereas our MS2089 is kind of our jack of all trades instrument. Everything is all in the instrument already. So in other words, everything is just software upgradable and has the same cable antenna analyzer, which starts at 5 kilohertz and goes up to 6 kilohertz. There is a 4 gigahertz option as well. It also has our spectrum analyzer, which starts at from 9 kilohertz to 6 gigahertz. So these are the configurations of it. And this is probably, I would say, probably our most interesting product because we've done a lot of work both on the spectrum analyzer side and the cable antenna analyzer side. And when you combine both of them, it produces kind of a unique product that's a little bit different than what's already out there in the market. So essentially, this is what I'll go over. The message that we're trying to give for this instrument is test it, trust it, and support it. It's a nice, catchy slogan, but what does it really mean? Like I said before, the SiteMaster brand has been around, at least for the installation and maintenance world, for close to 29 years, and they've been around for a long time. They've been tested in the field. We have definitely seen instruments that are out there that are quite old. Recently, I came to see a customer and he still had some B series that were functioning in his inventory. And the only reason why he didn't use them because the new instruments were out there and had some of the newer features, but they were perfectly functional. And I've seen our field teams where customers have asked if they could be trained on the B series Site Master, and they've been so old that even our field application engineers have never touched it before. Some of them, so they've been around, they've been tested around the field for 30 years, and it's a well-trusted brand. We see a lot people ask for a Site Master when they can use for any cable antennalyzer. It's a very well trusted. They know it functions, they know it works, they know it's reliable. And probably one of the things that makes our Site Master and our instruments in general very different is we support it. Every time you reach us, we'll get back to you with the field application engineers. We'll guide you through the process. We offer certified training to help make sure that you can use your Site Master best to your abilities. And we offer all this support for everything. And the Site Master, like I said here, it's traditionally a cable antennalyzer instrument, but in this case, it's more than that. We've also done decades and decades in the spectrum analyzer world. And as things become more and more over the air measurements, we've included a lot of features and provide some of the best in class spectrum analyzer on this instrument. When you look back at our instrument, you see it's basically a giant iPad screen. It's all touchscreen. One of the things I just mentioned earlier, it was tested, it's been around the field for 30 years. And one of the important things that people always get worried about is when they think about our instrument is like, it's an iPad. Isn't it going to break just like my iPad when I dropped it at home? Well, it looks like it, but that's not how our instrument is built. The screen itself is IK08 rated, and this is actually applied to all of our newer instruments in the same design, a new platform that we're launching. What does IK08 rated mean? So you can see this image here. It's essentially kind of like a rating. There's different ratings. There's IK07, IK09, but essentially they describe how much force the screen can take before it breaks, and they test it by having it drop at a set height with a set steel ball bearing in this case. In this case, they dropped a 1.7 kilogram ball bearing at 300 millimeter, and the screen did not break. In other words, in most cases, I feel like the instrument inside will break before the screen breaks. That's how tough the screen is. And it's IP52 rated in the case. In other words, it can survive, some moderate water environment, whatever the field throws at you. More than likely, the human factor is going to be the limiting factor, not necessarily the instrument. The instrument can operate, and we've tested it just like all instruments in terms of environmental. It can go to -10 to 55 operational status. And unlike a lot of systems out there, when we say it goes up to 55, it goes up to 55 at the full speed. There's no throttling. The instrument keeps on functioning until to the very end, till it gets too hot and it has its self shutdown capabilities. It's shock and vibe tested, just like I see here in our data sheet, so they'll be able to survive all the shock and vibe. And for those that are in explosive environment, just like our other instruments, is tested to withstand those environments, to not have any accidental discharge and ignite anything in an explosive environment. And the spectrum analyzer side of things, one of the most common things we hear from a spectrum analyzer is they are too close to the base station and someone fires up a radio and they basically burn out the port. And we've made sure the spectrum analyzer here has 5 watts protection. Of course, that's a limited time, so you can't key a radio indefinitely into the instrument, but we did maximize the protection much as we could without compromising the accuracy and battery life of the instrument. And our instrument has typically 5 hours in cable and analyzer mode and 3 hours on a spectrum analyzer mode. Of course, this depends heavily on how your usage and what mode you're using. For example, real-time spectrum analyzer will consume a lot more power in spectrum analyzer mode than a traditional spectrum analyzer mode. And one of the things in general with our new instrument, especially with our Site Master, is we've made it a lot easier for users and particularly new users to use this instrument and make it faster. It makes, when I say faster, it's faster and more intuitive. And right off the bat, I already said before that we have a giant touchscreen, a 10-point-inch touchscreen, so you can touch anywhere on this screen, and it will, and you can function it. And there's multiple ways of doing different things. So, for example, in spectrum analyzer mode, you can pinch and zoom. So, in other words, in the past, if you wanted to change your center frequency or your span, you would have to go to these keys and do it here. Here, you can intuitively grab on the screen, pull and touch and pinch and zoom to do the same feature without having to go through these traditional menus of doing that. On top of that, there are multiple ways for you to change the settings. As you can see here, we have the traditional buttons here. But we also have additional cards here, which you can press here and change. In this case, you can change the amplitude as well, or change the frequency. Besides changing frequency here, you can actually just go here, tap here, and you'll be able to change the frequency as well. Of course, you have the ability to lock this if you don't want to be touched when you're moving the instrument around as well. And in addition to that, we've also made sure to default when you get the instrument straight from the factory. When you save your measurement, you're saving everything, not just the setup. Because we've heard customers say this multiple times, that they come in, they hit save, save, save. They get back to the office and they realize they've only saved 20 measurements that are all setup files only. So we've listened and we've made sure that when they hit save, they're actually saving the entire measurement by everything by default. And we've also, made sure the instrument functions faster. You can't have a new product that's slower than the old instrument. So from spectrum analyzer mode, it goes up to 40, has the same speed as our the other product in the family, the MS2080, 45 gigahertz per second. And our cable antenna analyzer is 350 microseconds per point. And here on the cable antenna analyzer side, we don't have uh, we have a drag, we don't have a zoom, because just the nature of cable internalizer. But what this dragging feature does allows you to adjust your amplitude in order to get a better view of the cable measurement. We built in a lot of tools. A lot of our older instruments particularly require you to have a PC2 to do a lot of work. But we've done things differently. We've incorporated much as we could into this. The instrument has a Wi-Fi capability and has Ethernet as well. So in other words, you can plug it in, and right off the bat, you can do PDF report generation in SPA and cable internalizer. This is something that people used to have to do on a PC, where you do the measurements, you measure it, and then you go back and generate a report for contractors or for various applications. Same thing with loading maps and stuff like that. All this can be all done on the instrument these days. So as you can see here, these are some of the web tools, and we'll keep adding new web tools as time comes on. But here you can see, you can just go on instruments. As long as you have internet, you can download the tiles for the area that you are working with in coverage. You also have the ability, for example, to update your instruments right here. You see all your options, everything, your system information with well, probably 2 clicks of a button. You have to click check if there's updates, and click update automatically, and the system will automatically update as well. You can also update it via traditional USB as well. And we've also have some advanced features here. For example, like I mentioned before, which I'll go over later, we have many different modes with our instruments. For example, you have your real-time spectrum analyzer, traditional spectrum analyzer, and we've enabled some features where essentially you can enable this and whatever frequency you're looking at in, for example, in real-time spectrum analyzer, and you switch interference analyzer mode, it will keep the same center frequency. So it makes your life easier, makes everything easier between users. So we've definitely tried to make this instrument as easy as possible for everyone to use. No matter how easy it is, the instrument has to be useful. And this new instrument is like a Swiss Army knife for multiple applications, and I'll go over that in a second. But like I said, we've built in a lot of features and built in a lot of tools, essentially allowing the users to be much more efficient in a single site or a single area and make it much easier. We've added new features in cable and tantalizer measurements, such as TDR measurements, which I will explain a little bit further in detail. The 2089 has the same powerful spectrum analyzer as our MS2080. It has the same capability. We've added additional features to make these instruments be able to function as an ecosystem, including secure communication, which essentially allows users to meet their IT standard requirements and basically allow people to use multiple instruments at once. And one of the applications of having multiple instruments connected to the network is you then can use it as a node within the remote spectrum monitoring capability. And on top of that, we have a lot of powerful spectrum analyzer measurements, like I said before, and including IQ capture, IQ streaming, which can be used for various things, such as third-party software, could be used for signal intelligence, research and development. IQ Capture I'll go over in a bit, but it's a very useful tool that can be used for a multitude of applications. And now I'm going to go dive a little deeper into specifically the spectrum analyzer side of things, and then I'm going to go over the cable and tantalizer aspects of the new Site Master. So like I said before, I'm going to introduce some of the spectrum analyzer features. If you are aware of our MS2080, you'll see some of this is very familiar, actually. The MS2089 has a lot of features, a lot of smart features. I like to say VSA type measurements. You have your traditional quality measurements, but you also have your VSA type quality measurement with some demodulation as well. And this instrument has all that capability into it. Here you can see we have interference hunting, PIM hunting, occupied bandwidth, AM/FM demodulation, channel power, spectrogram, zero span. So these are just some of the highlights that the spectrum analyzer is capable of doing. The instrument has up to 40 megahertz of analysis bandwidth, which is very useful for most, if not a lot of applications out there. And we have 100% probability of intercept, as long as the signal is larger than 2.5 microseconds. In other words, we're able to capture everything that it's coming in. There's no missing. So with some of the instruments, when you don't have RTSA, you have a capture bandwidth chunks at a time. And while it's sweeping, their signal might appear here. Well, when you park your center frequency and you have 40 megahertz of analysis bandwidth, we're able to capture everything here. And as you can see here, as a result, you get these density graph. In other words, blue is less and darker it is, the more density of a graph. So you can actually see some stuff below the north floor as well. This is something great for interference hunting, for looking and seeing if the intermittent signals, you're able to really see every signal that's out there. On top of that, there's one of the things we do very well is capture via trigger, and you can have video triggers here and capture the IQ whenever a signal pops up. So you can park this into a area where you're not sure, and you can definitely see where signals or imminent signals are coming up, and you can actually capture it without having being present. This is a very useful feature. There's many applications on this, but this is one of the cool things you can do. And of course, like I mentioned before, IQ capture, IQ streaming. What IQ capture is essentially translating your signal into your Q and I, as you can see here, what it is. And then you can use this into various software, like our Vision software, our Vision IQ, our Vision software, which is more of a remote spectrum monitoring software capability as well, and it's very useful for definitely R&D. So for you out in the field, it's a very useful capability that's out there. So you can definitely deep dive into the instrument. So it's perfect for people that want to use it in a lab environment, and then they want to take out to the field and take out to the field. They may think something unknown, they can capture it, and they can bring it back to the office for R&D and more development as well. And they can actually even potentially connect it to a backhaul and allow the lab environment people to really dig down into the instrument while the person is still in the field. Like I said before, you can use this as you can connect this to a system with a backhaul, and you can turn our instrument into a node within a remote spectrum monitoring solution. And this instrument is very capable because it allows you to use it in every part of interference hunting, all the way from macro to all the way to the last leg. So like I said before, this is compatible with a vision software, which allows us to look at a macro site and monitor areas, and you can connect multiple of these units, as many as you want, as our MS2080, 89, and 90 and 80. They all work with the software. And you can monitor entire city and entire area and look at interference and monitor anything that's going up and really try to narrow down where interference is coming from. And as you can see here, we have MS2089 with a laptop connected to a vehicle with a little antenna, and we're able to do mobile interference hunting. In other words, what this software does, our MX28087A, is it will tell you where to drive, based on using your macro sites, which is the same unit, and now you put in your vehicle. You can really kind of look at where the interference is coming from. You have an idea what the frequency is. You drive around, and the instrument will tell you where it thinks it's coming from. The more you drive, the more our secret sauce will try to figure out where the interference is coming from, and tells you to go turn left and turn right. You follow this instrument and it'll tell you where it is. So you already narrowed it down from a large environment, and you're narrowing it down even further into maybe a neighborhood area using this mobile interference hunting capability. And of course, you have to do it. You need to go figure out where your last leg is. So you get off the vehicle using the same instrument that you put in a vehicle, which you also use as a node for your macro site. You can do stuff like a polar graph to, kind of do a 360 with our antenna to really determine which direction is probably coming from. In this case, it's here. And then you can also create a couple of vectors from different points to really triangulate where it is. And you can really walk down and narrow it down to exactly where the interference is coming from. And PIM is actually, in a sense, a similar principle. And PIM is really nothing more than another form of interference. And you'll see here, our instrument has this capability, which makes it a lot easier for you to do it as well. It helps having a real-time spectrum analyzer to really see all the interference, where it's coming from in every aspect. Like I said, in order to connect to all your systems, in order to really create a node for your remote spectrum monitor, a lot of times you will have difficulties with IT department because you need secure communication. The IT department will plug your instrument in and be often seen as a security risk. So we've mitigated that significantly with what is known as secure communication. What that does is we essentially users can take this entire technical data sheet and give it to the IT department, and they will be able to understand that these are the ports that are needs to be functioned for this instrument to function correctly, provide the service it's doing, and it indicates what normal operation is, what happens when this option is enabled. What essentially is we've created a secure tunnel between the instrument and your user's IT department, and encrypt the data going back and forth, making sure that our instrument is not a security risk in that aspect. So that's what we've really done to make sure that you can connect this instrument to any network for upgrades or remote control, and you don't have to worry about it potentially being a risk. Of course, we've also allowed them to upload their own certificate. Of course, most IT departments will require some kind of authentication certificate in order to be on their network, and we've enabled that capability on their instrument in this option 17, allowing users to be able to tailor it towards your IT department and allowing them to really install this secure communication, allowing your Site Master to be a node within a remote spectrum monitor system, allowing you to take into a vehicle, allowing you to take it in your hand and do all your measurements, and have the ability to communicate remote from the office. with this option, knowing that it is a very secure communication for everything. And like I said before, it's more than just a spectrum analyzer I mentioned before. We have a lot of VSA type measurements, including LTE, 5G, even some of the older measurements such as WCDMA. We have quite a lot of instruments capabilities out there. Here are some of the ones out there, just, frequency error, offset, SSB, EVM measurements. These are just additional measurements just from the spectrum analyzer side that typically in the past, you would have to go back or require a benchtop or a PC in order to really do a lot of this stuff, which now we have enabled all to be done on the instrument itself. Coverage mapping, like I said before earlier, we can download the map straight off of it from the internet, and if you have a connection to backhaul, you can transfer data into your instrument as well. So you can definitely do coverage mapping. You can do indoor mapping. Here in this case, you have to push where you're at in the map and do the measurements, and you can do some in-building coverage mapping as well. And of course, all these files you can transfer them to Google Earth and visualize it for post-processing for anything else you need as well. And we have the ability to filter by different tower ID as well for external mapping as well, so you can really see the coverage between each towers and how they're doing as well. Now, this is highlighting for one of the applications of our instruments, our capability, and we're talking about spectrum analyzer in a DAS environment. Right off the bat, whenever you really build anything, you really should clear the spectrum, see if there's any interference or anything what's going on. Like I said before, the spectrum analyzer side of the instrument can be used as a node for your remote spectrum analyzer. So you can leave it out there for some time connection to see if there's any interference, or if you really don't have time for that, you can just walk around with our handheld spectrum analyzer to really figure out where the interference is coming from. And obviously, if you're need a donor antenna, you need to figure out which direction has the strongest signal for your DAS system. And this is where the MS2089, our powerful spectrum analyzer, can really help with that aspect of stuff as well. And with the cable antenna analyzer side, you can definitely use it for testing inside all the cables, all of it as well, including aspects of it as well. And coverage mapping, you can do it as well within inside this instrument as well. You can do it here as well. And of course, pairing up with our PIM master as well, you will also be doing internal PIM, and then using the same bare instrument, you can actually do it for external PIM as well. And of course, we do have our own separate line of OTDRs as well. So we do offer quite a comprehensive library of equipment that are able to help you for all the way from finding the strongest signal for a donor antenna, interference hunting, mapping inside, installations, and maintenance of all the cables and antennas, including some of the fiber capabilities from our other product line as well. And going back, like I was saying, I mentioned before about using the PIN master. So like I said before in this previous image here, once you have these donor antennas and once you start installing all these cables in here, you definitely would use a cable antenna analyzer to sweep all your cables and all your antennas to make sure they function correctly. And then of course, then you would use our PIM master, something like this, to really test if there's internal PIM within the entire system as well. Of course, once that has been completed, then the next thing is you will see if there's external PIM. And of course, for external PIM, you can use this to kind of do distance to default PIM as a kind of a general idea of like how far it is might be located. But inside in like a DAS system, it might be very difficult due to the fact that pretty much any nonlinear junction, aka any rusty bolt and any metal nearby, can cause PIM. This is where you would bring back our new Site Master and have the ability to connect it to like for example a log periodic antenna with a correct filter, and having this generate your F1 and F2. You can generate PIM. It'll generate external PIM. We already cleared the internal PIM using the system, and using this to look for that PIM, because we know what is F1, F2 generated by our PIM master. So with the wand, you can walk around inside internal building to really try to narrow down what is the source of your PIM. And it can be from multiple sources. So with the same instrument that you use to clear the spectrum for installation and cable, you can use to also to help in conjunction with equipment that you may already have to look for internal PIM. So this one single instrument continues to provide additional usage, especially in environments where it could be a lot of sources of PIM, for example. Of course, the Site Master can't be a Site Master without cable internalizer capabilities. And from this part, I'm going to talk a little bit about the cable internalizer features and some of the things we've done to make it better. Like I said, the instrument is faster. I already mentioned how we've made it a lot easier for users to use from a faster standpoint, from just the usability, GUI standpoint. Of course, this all applies to this instrument as well, but we physically made this instrument function faster. I've mentioned it before, 350 microseconds compared to 1 millisecond compared to E-series. We've also made it significantly faster when switching between modes. In the past, for example, transmission measurement was an entirely different mode. Today, it's just you hit the measurement button and it's just a drop down. You hit transmission measurement. There's no switching of modes, so that saves you quite a lot of time. With this faster speed, we have to pack in more points compared to old E-series. So now you can do 10,049 points compared to roughly about 2,000 points. Every button is quicker, faster. We enable shortcuts. In other words, you have setups in spectrum analyzer mode or cable antenna analyzer mode. You have these nice little simple shortcuts, which allows you to quickly go to different measurements as well. And of course, we include our new instant calibration module. In other words, we don't have to manually change or open and short load. So we do have a new product like this that pairs with our new Site Master. Basically, our instrument in a nutshell does function significantly faster than our previous E-series, whether it's from per point, switching modes, interactions. It's just essentially faster. And like I said, we built in quite a lot of tools, and I will go over it. Some of these big tools, like line sweep tools, traditionally was done purely on the PC. It's now all built into the instrument, including modifications of cable lists. All this stuff used to be done on a PC, now are entirely done on the instrument itself. We've added additional calibration features because calibration does take up a lot of time when it comes to cable antenna analyzer. We've included what is known as ReadyCal straight from the factory. What is ReadyCal? ReadyCal, typically when you have an instrument right out of the box, you cannot do any measurements. Without calibration, you can't do anything. What ReadyCal is, it provides some form of calibration straight from the factory. And you might ask, what is the application for such feature? Well, a lot of times when people are out in the field, they would traditionally sometimes have two calibration kit. One, as was known as like kind of like a golden calibration kit, which they keep in a box, which is nicely protected, and one they go up and climb or carry it around, and sometimes that gets damaged. We try our best to make it ruggedized, but it still gets damaged. At that point, some users might use the golden calibration kit to kind of see how the measurement is and see if the calibration kit is broken. Well, with ReadyCal, you don't really need that because now you can right off the bat do some form of measurements, get a ballpark if it's correct, and then calibrate and see if the measurement is somewhat in the ballpark as well. So it speeds up your capability as well for sanity check as well. And of course, I did mention our new InstaCal as well, and we added new features as well. And I'll explain some of these built-in PDF report and cable lists in greater details. Most of this enhancements we've talked about are all standard. Doesn't regardless if you buy the 4 GHz or what options you buy, you will all get all these standard built-in PDF report generation, the improvement our DTF, better dynamic range, and our enhanced cable list. We did add new time domain reflectometry for more of advanced users, and I will explain that as well. Like our previous line, we have all the capable measurements all listed here. So you can see that we did not forget, hopefully we didn't forget anything, but if we did forget something, please let me know actually. We've added what is known as time domain reflectometry. So what this really is really to replicate the impulse measurements from an actual TDR instrument. So what we're doing here is actually converting things into time domain in a low pass step response to simulate the traditional TDR impulse measurements. And basically what it does allows you to get much more information about the cable antenna analyzer measurement. So traditionally, when you did DTF, distance to fault, it gave you a location where the fault is, but you really had no idea of what is the nature of the fault. Was it open? Was it short? It's not very clear. What TDR does essentially allows you, in this case, it's measuring in ohms, how bad it is. Was it open? Is it short? How far is it from what it's supposed to be? And some of the applications for a TDR measurements is when, for example, if you are servicing a cable, for example, in a tunnel, which requires you to shut down a tunnel in order to do maintenance, you want to shut down that tunnel as least a little, you want to keep the shutdown short as possible. And the more information you get, the better you have when going there to figure out what is the problem. And that's one of the applications of a TDR like measurement it could be. Or like I said before, with the secure communication, you can have this connected to a network and provide perhaps some of the engineers more information. They can dig deeper into the fault of the location, not just the fact that there is a fault. You can actually kind of characterize what is the fault of the cable as well. Like I said before, we've enhanced our DTF. When I say enhance, it's really a combination of multiple things together. Obviously, the more data points, the more accuracy, more resolution is going to get better. Starting at a lower frequency will help with that as well. So with all these things combined, and with a better dynamic range, in other words, you're able to push the DTF further. You basically have more points to cover further distance, wider frequency span better, and have a better dynamic range, allowing us to hear better during that signal. As you can see here, we can definitely do more than a kilometer in distance default measurement. Of course, this heavily depends on the loss of your cable. Theoretically, you have a zero loss cable, it'll be 5 kilometers, but reality is um, there's no cable that has zero loss. So it's going to be entirely based on what essentially your cable is going to be. And one of the benefit of this instrument is in the past, when you had to do DTF and you had to do a new cable, you had to you pretty much had to go to a PC and to change the cable itself, since our instrument didn't allow you to do as much. But here in our new instrument, you can do this all on its own, and this is part of the cableless enhancements I mentioned about. No longer are we just providing just a cable name to it. We've also included a manufacturer and a description. So when you search in this filter, it will search for all these categories. So if you know it's like, for example, a Andrews or a Tom, you might see everything that's in there. And this entire list can be edited and created all entirely on this instrument itself. Of course, you still can do it on the PC, and we do have a new software that allows you to do this, but this can all entirely be done on the instrument itself. As you can see here, we also have a user cable list. That's essentially is your favorite. So you can copy this and send it here, and you have a shortcut of all your favorite lists that you're going to be able to use. And you can edit it as well. You can refresh it, export it here as well. So in the past, you would have to do this on the PC, but these days we can do it all here. You can add, you can delete, export, create new cables all in this instrument. As you can see here, you can, once you create it, you can name it, you can put your own manufacturer, put all the capability, you can put your own description. This is how you will enter all your cable losses and all those frequency points as well. And once you've done, you essentially created this in here. As you can see here, you have add, import, export, and clear all this function all in this instrument, which is very useful. And of course, you can see here I have the word copy. What I did essentially is I hit copy here, and then I modified it and created this new cable, and I named it my test cable. So I did it all in this instrument without the need of using a PC. But the other thing I mentioned about was our dynamic range when it comes to DTF, because the way cable antenna works, it sends out a signal that's waiting back and listening for the signal it's sent. So obviously, the more dynamic range, the better it is able to hear the further distance of cable. And our older instruments, the E series, only had about 80 dB of dynamic range. With our newer instruments, we have close more to 100 dB of dynamic range. And we can definitely, there were some issues in the past where there might be some reflections from bandpass filters. This is a completely different architecture, and we're able to handle those highly reflective bandpass filters. So if you're doing a lot of filter measurements, this instrument would be very great for that aspect of what as well. One of the things is PDF report generation. So in the I&M world, oftentimes people would take measurements and would take to the PC in order to do these cable measurements, and you get paid based on this. As you can see here, essentially, you can create your template, you can create your own category of pass and fails, and you can enter a bunch of information and create these PDF report while on site. And it's actually a little bit more than just for the I&M world. I talked to several customers that when they are having trouble with a measurement in the field, one of the most common ways people talk to their support team is take their cell phones and take an image of their screen on the testing instrument in order to get help. And a lot of times these support engineers, they look at it and they have very difficulty seeing the screen, seeing what measurement they're doing, what are the settings they're doing, and they And you can use this capability because it provides you all additional information that you need about the measurements, what cable they're using, and stuff like that, allowing them to give a much more information. So it's more than just a report generation for I&M. It can be used for troubleshooting as well. And on top of that, in conjunction, if they have, like I said before, that secure communication and that backhaul, the support users can actually just remote into this instrument and actually look into it as well. But if they can't, then we can definitely use this report generation to really help with troubleshooting as well. And here's some examples of it, going with further detail, that PDF report generation. You can save templates, you can clear it, make your own. You can fill in all these areas. You can enable them, disable them, put up your own logos as needed. And then you can dictate how many measurements you want per page. This would be up to 4 measurements. You can have as many as you want. You put notes in each one, the measurements, and essentially you can set it up. And then you hit preview, and it'll create essentially this PDF report generation with the GPS location, measurements, the cables that you use, and everything. So it's a very useful tool, all built in. This used to be done on the PC. We've basically taken that and put it all in the instrument itself. Of course, there are situations where you would still want to do measurements and do some editings like adding markers. In that case, you still want to do a PC tool. We are going to continue to work on improving the PDF report generation, and we're going to continue adding new features to the PC tool as well. So the old instrument was known as line sweep tools. We still support that for all older instruments, but for this Site Master and new instruments, we are producing this new software called Anniversary Report and Remote tool. The reason why it's called Remote and Report, because with one single download, you can actually download our software remote tool as well as our Anniversary Report tool in one single package. You download both of them, and essentially you can use this to remote into an instrument to control it for any other reasons. And you can also use it to create these reports at markers and stuff as well. So it's free to download and it's a very useful tool as well. It does almost everything our line sweep tool does, except it doesn't create a database, an overlay, and calculator yet. These are features we are adding, but we still maintain both of them, and we are making this software backwards compatible in the future. Right now, it is not backwards compatible. In other words, all the files generated from our new Site Master will only work with our Anritsu Report remote tool, where our old instrument will only work with our LST software. In the future, we are planning making it so that this Anritsu Report tool can read all the measurement files from our older instrument as well. So this is our roadmap, and this is something we're going to work towards. And that's a quick overview of the new Site Master. There's a lot of features that I mentioned, anywhere from spectrum analyzer can function as a node for interference hunting, cable analyzer. We've made a lot of improvements. We've made capabilities to it. We put a lot of the PC software tools and we built it into the instrument itself. So hope you find this interesting, and thank you very much for your time.
No, thank you so much, Raymond, for introducing us to the newest addition to the Site Master family. It looks like you guys did a lot of improvement and there's a lot more to come. If anyone has any questions regarding the MS2085A or the MS2089A or comments about today's webinar, please reach out to events@talicom.com. We greatly appreciate your time today. Thank you.